Imagine you're standing on the deck of this massive, incredibly luxurious cruise ship.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
The sun is shining, the champagne is flowing, and, I mean, the ship is just breaking absolute speed and profit records as it sails across the ocean. Everyone's comfortable. Everyone's happy.
Sounds like a pretty good trip.
Right. But then you look up toward the bridge, and you see the captain furiously tearing up the steering controls. He's actually dismantling the engine room to build a submarine.
Wait, a submarine?
Yeah. And you ask why, and it's because the captain just realized that the entire next generation of passengers, well, they only live underwater.
That is a wild image, honestly. But it captures the exact structural tension hiding inside this massive stack of documents we're looking at today.
It really does.
We've got a brand new earnings report, a shareholder letter dated today, May 14th, 2026, and a whole flurry of recent corporate announcements from Disney.
Which is just a mountain of paper to go through.
It is, and you just don't usually see a legacy company that is currently winning its financial game operating with such an intense, almost anxious level of reinvention.
Right, because looking at these numbers, I mean, Disney is absolutely thriving right now. They just reported a solid 7% increase in revenue compared to the exact same period last year.
7%?
Yeah, and 7% for a company of Disney's colossal scale. That is a massive influx of capital.
Huge.
And the report makes it very clear that this bump is being driven heavily by what the internet lovingly calls Disney adults.
Ah, yes, the Disney adults.
You know the ones. These are the people who grew up with the brand and are now happily spending their adult disposable income on park passes, premium streaming, merchandise. They just have an endless appetite for it.
They really do.
But the contradiction here is fascinating. Because at the exact moment they're raking in this cash from millennials and Gen X, their newly minted CEO, Josh D'Amaro, is aggressively trying to rewrite the entire historic Disney playbook.
He's aiming at a totally different target.
Exactly. He wants to capture a demographic that is currently sitting in elementary school classrooms.
Which, is the core mission of what we're tracking today in this deep dive. We're looking at how an entertainment giant, a brand whose identity is woven into the last century of cultural history, is attempting to future-proof itself.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because it's like they're acting as a legendary classic rock band. You know the type.
Oh, absolutely.
They go on tour, they sell out massive football stadiums, they charge a total premium for VIP tickets and those vintage T-shirts. And their aging fan base happily pays for all of it.
Yeah, they're printing money.
Right. But the band wakes up one morning in their luxury hotel and realizes they have absolutely zero presence on TikTok. The teenagers walking past the stadium have no idea who they are.
That's a great way to put it.
So D'Amaro's looking at Gen Alpha, the kids born after 2010, and realizing the classic rock tour just isn't going to work on them.
Exactly. If we connect this to the bigger picture, legacy brands face a very specific, often hidden trap. The danger isn't failing right away. The danger is peaking with one specific demographic.
Right, that demographic cliff.
Yeah. A 7% revenue bump is an absolute triumph in traditional corporate metrics, sure. But if that revenue is being driven by an aging consumer base and you have no mechanism to capture the consumers coming up behind them, you're essentially just coasting on borrowed time.
Borrowed time, wow.
And D'Amaro actually understands that. He knows the sheer gravity of that 7% bump is a huge risk if it blinds the company to the future.
So he's not getting comfortable.
Not at all. He knows their survival in the next decade depends entirely on an audience that they simply don't control yet. And to reach them, he's declared that short-form content is, in his exact words from the earnings call, specifically important for building relationships with this new generation.
Okay, but wait. If the problem is that Gen Alpha lives on short-form platforms, Disney has historically struggled with that native, raw social media content, right?
They have, yeah.
Their entire brand is polished, premium, perfect. So how are they actually executing this specifically important strategy without just looking like a massive corporation trying way too hard on TikTok?
Well, they aren't just trying to conquer external platforms anymore. They are fundamentally changing the shape of their own screens.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, they're making the medium just as crucial as the message. Look at the rollout timeline we have here. In March, they launched a vertical video feed right inside their Disney Plus streaming platform.
Oh, right. They call it Verts, don't they?
They do, yeah, Verts. And then a few months later, in August, they rolled out the exact same vertical video feed concept on the ESPN app.
So they're putting the scroll directly into their premium apps.
Exactly. And Mamaro noted on the call that while it's, early days, these Verts feeds are driving what he calls deeper engagement on Disney Plus and showing really promising performance on ESPN.
They also launched that Creators Collection last fall, right?
Yes, the Creators Collection. It's this initiative showcasing YouTube-style videos centered around their major cinematic releases.
Like behind-the-scenes stuff.
Kind of, but much more native to internet culture. They specifically highlighted the strategy for upcoming tentpoles like Predator, Badlands, and the live-action version of Lilo and Stitch.
Okay, I see.
They're essentially surrounding their traditional premium content with the short, vertical, fast-paced formats that define modern digital consumption.
I have to push back on this, though.
Go for it.
Because as a consumer paying a premium subscription fee every month, this feels like a massive risk. Disney's entire historic brand identity, the absolute core of their magic, has been built on feature-length immersive cinema.
True.
We're talking about sweeping scores, incredible animation, getting lost in a story for 2 hours in a dark theater. Isn't pivoting to endless vertical scrolling feeds and YouTube-style videos inside their own app a massive dilution of that premium brand?
I get that fear.
I mean, look at Quibi. Short-form premium was a massive disaster. Doesn't this cheapen what Disney is supposed to be?
That is the exact tension keeping media executives awake at night, honestly. But Diamaro's own logic provides the counter-argument here.
Where's the sense?
During that same earnings call, he summed up these efforts with a very telling quote. He said, "We're adjusting our own products to reflect the way consumers want to interact with our content." What he's acknowledging there is a hard, really uncomfortable truth about modern media survival. Survival means surrendering your preferred traditional format to match the audience's daily habits.
So you're saying they literally have to abandon their prestige just to get a foot in the door with these kids?
Not abandon it, but they have to translate it. You can't dictate to Gen Alpha that they must sit still for a 2-hour cinematic experience to build a relationship with a new character.
Because they just won't do it.
Right. If a 10-year-old's daily habit is swiping vertically for 3 minutes at a time, your brand has to exist credibly within that vertical swipe. If it doesn't, your brand ceases to exist for them at all.
Wow, the interface is the reality.
Exactly. It's not about diluting the brand. It's about speaking the native language of the next generation. If you try to force them to consume media the way millennials did in 1998, you lose them entirely.
That translation piece makes sense. But it still feels incomplete to me.
How so?
Well, scrolling through short-form videos might catch Gen Alpha's attention for a few seconds, right?
Yeah.
Might give them a quick laugh or a highlight clip from Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah.
But if you want to truly keep them engaged, if you want to build a lasting, decades-long relationship that turns them into the next wave of Disney adults, you need more than a 3-second swipe.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
You need an immersive environment, a place where they can hang out and actually live inside the brand. And that leads directly into the absolute craziest part of this document stack.
Yes, their massive pivot into gaming.
Right.
To understand why Disney is suddenly taking gaming so seriously, you have to look at the underlying behavioral data. There's a staggering piece of research from the Entertainment Software Association.
I saw this. It's wild.
They conducted a 5,000-person survey, and the result is the kind of statistic that completely rewrites a corporate roadmap. According to that survey, 83% of Americans between the ages of 5 and 12 play video games every single week.
83%. I mean, that completely reframes how we look at free time for kids.
Completely.
We used to think kids were choosing between watching a cartoon or playing outside in the yard. Now they're choosing between passively watching a Disney cartoon and actively building their own world in a game.
And gaming is winning.
83% of the time, the game is winning that attention. That data point perfectly contextualizes the bombshell announcement they made in early 2024.
Oh yeah, the Epic Games deal.
Right. Disney announced a major collaboration with Epic Games, the maker of Fortnite, based down in Cary, North Carolina. And they didn't just announce some fluffy promotional partnership. They backed it up with a massive $1.5 billion investment to acquire an equity stake in Epic Games.
The equity stake is the critical detail there.
Why is that so important?
Because if Disney just wanted to put Mickey Mouse or Iron Man into Fortnite, they could just sign a basic licensing agreement. They do that all the time.
Sure, just rent the character out.
Right. But taking a $1.5 billion equity position is a massive structural commitment. They're injecting that capital because they are tying their corporate future to the actual technological infrastructure that Epic Games has built.
So they're building a foundation together.
Exactly.
Right.
They're committing to creating a persistent, wide-reaching gaming and entertainment universe together that integrates directly with Fortnite.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because I think we need to expand on that real estate idea. It's the perfect way to visualize what's actually happening here.
Go on.
Think about the physical world. Disneyland and Disney World were the ultimate physical real estate for baby boomers and millennials, right?
Oh, for sure. A rite of passage.
It was the physical third place you went to fully immerse yourself in the brand outside of your home or your school. But today, Epic Games and Fortnite are the new digital real estate for Gen Alpha.
That's spot on.
Fortnite is essentially the new digital mall where kids go to hang out with their friends. So what Disney is doing here is essentially paying $1.5 billion for the right to build a digital theme park on someone else's land.
What's fascinating here is that the transparency surrounding this $1.5 billion move is really what stands out in today's shareholder letter.
They were surprisingly honest, weren't they?
Unbelievably candid. CEO Josh D'Amaro and Chief Financial Officer Hugh Johnston wrote openly to shareholders about the financial reality of this investment. They openly stated that gaming is not currently a significant revenue driver for Disney.
Which is just a wild thing to admit to Wall Street right after dropping $1.5 billion.
It really is.
Usually you promise immediate synergy and massive immediate returns to keep the stock price propped up. You don't say, hey, this doesn't make us much money right now.
It's a huge admission. But they immediately follow it by stating they consider the gaming category strategically important.
Okay, so it's a long play.
Right. They wrote, interactive platforms are an increasingly relevant medium for younger audiences to engage with characters and stories.
They're spelling it out.
They are. They're explaining to you, the shareholder and the listener, that this massive check isn't a short-term cash grab designed to pad the next quarterly earnings report. It's a long-term acquisition cost for cultural relevance.
So it's not about selling copies of a game.
No, they aren't buying a game. They're buying the infrastructure required to prevent their intellectual property from becoming obsolete in the interactive era.
And it goes deeper than just the land, right? They're also basically renting Epic's Imagineers, their Unreal Engine technology.
Oh, absolutely.
Because Disney realized their own internal software tools were built for rendering linear movies, not for building real-time interactive multiplayer worlds. They recognized they totally missed the boat on building the foundational platform themselves.
They definitely did.
So they're just buying their way into the most popular digital neighborhood in the world and using that neighborhood's tools to build their house. So on a strategic level, it makes perfect sense. You've got the theory, you've got the $1.5 billion investment, you've got the corporate strategy mapped out in the shareholder letter.
And the pieces are there.
So what does this all mean? The real question for anyone watching this industry is, does it actually work in practice?
Right.
It's one thing to say you're going to build a digital universe. It's another thing entirely to get Gen Alpha to actually care about it.
And luckily, we don't have to guess anymore. We're finally moving from corporate theory to the actual, tangible rollout of this partnership. We have a real proof of concept to examine today.
The Simpsons game, right?
Yes. The very first fruit of this deep integration with Epic Games launched last November. It was a Simpsons-themed Fortnite game.
I remember seeing clips of that everywhere.
And the engagement numbers revealed in today's shareholder letter are nothing short of monumental. This single game integration reached more than 80 million unique players.
80 million players is massive, but the second half of that statistic is what actually made my jaw drop.
The hours spent.
Yes. Those 80 million unique players spent a collective 780 million hours on that Simpsons game. Just try to visualize what 780 million hours of human attention actually looks like.
It's almost incomprehensible.
It is. Think about the psychology of that shift. Historically, engaging with The Simpsons meant sitting passively on your couch for 22 minutes, letting a broadcast network feed you a linear story.
Just letting it wash over you.
Right. Now, that passive screen time has been completely replaced by interactive social gameplay for this single piece of intellectual property. It's a staggering transfer of attention. The audience isn't just watching the content anymore. They're wearing it. They're playing inside it. They're socializing around it.
This raises an important question. The cognitive difference between sitting back and leaning forward is the key here. How does a company that has historically dominated the sit back and watch experience reconcile this massive transfer of attention toward lean forward and play?
How do they bridge that gap?
The answer came during a deeply revealing moment on the earnings call. CFO Hugh Johnston was responding to an analyst who was questioning the return on investment for the Epic Games partnership.
Analyst was probably wondering where the money was.
Exactly. And Johnston said, Epic gives us an interactive, gaming-native environment to reach audiences that we don't currently own. And by the way, particularly younger audiences.
Audiences that we don't currently own? Wow, that specific phrasing is so stark.
It strips away all the usual corporate hubris. You're looking at the raw strategic reality of a titan like Disney. They are openly, publicly admitting to their investors that there is a massive, culturally dominant demographic that they do not own and cannot reach through their traditional channels.
They're acknowledging a huge blind spot.
Yes. And by making that admission, Johnston is explaining exactly why partnering with a company like Epic Games, which already possesses that gaming native environment, is their only viable path forward.
Because they can't do it themselves.
Right. They cannot build a social interactive network from scratch fast enough to catch Gen Alpha before they age out of the target demographic. So they have to integrate into the environments where Gen Alpha already lives and breathes.
It's a fascinating case study in corporate adaptation. They're basically admitting that if they try to build their own digital mall from scratch, it'll just end up feeling like an empty corporate plaza.
Nobody wants to hang out there.
Exactly. But by moving into Fortnite, they're setting up shop in the busiest intersection on the entire internet.
The foot traffic is already there.
So, as we bring this deep dive to a close, let's pull all these threads together to see the whole tapestry. What we're witnessing today is a legacy company operating in a media landscape that is shifting rapidly beneath our feet.
Very rapidly.
Disney is currently sitting on a very comfortable 7% revenue bump, fueled entirely by a loyal base of adults. Yet, leadership recognizes that this comfort is a dangerous illusion if they don't secure the future.
And they're willing to radically alter their signature formats to do it. They're shifting from a strict reliance on sweeping cinematic features to embracing vertical swiping with verts on Disney Plus and ESPN. They're rolling out YouTube-style creators collection content to market premium releases like Predator, Badlands, and Lilo and Stitch.
And most importantly, they're betting $1.5 billion on the transition from passive viewing to interactive engagement.
Huge bet.
Which has already been validated by those astonishing 780 million hours spent in a Simpsons Fortnite universe. They're dismantling the cruise ship to build the submarine just to ensure they stay culturally relevant in the decades to come.
There's a deeply practical takeaway here for you, our listener.
What's the lesson?
Whether you're running your own business, managing a team, trying to build a brand, or just trying to navigate the modern media landscape, the Disney playbook we dissected today offers a vital lesson in survival.
You have to adapt.
Exactly. You must meet the next generation where they are, not where you want them to be. You cannot force new consumer behaviors into old, preferred formats just because those formats made you successful in the past.
Which is so hard for successful companies to accept.
It is. But adaptability, especially when it requires you to contradict your own historical success, is the ultimate metric for long-term survival.
Adapt or fade away. Which leaves us with a final lingering thought for you to mull over today as you go about your week.
Let's hear it.
We just explored how a massive, resource-rich empire like Disney feels completely compelled to fundamentally alter its signature format. They're literally building their future inside a digital universe owned by another company, just to survive a generational shift.
It's unprecedented.
So if Disney has to go to those extremes to capture attention, what does that mean for the future of standalone entertainment platforms?
That's the million-dollar question.
Will the concept of passive streaming eventually die out entirely? Are we moving toward a future where every single piece of media, every movie, every TV show has to be a fully interactive multiplayer video game experience just to justify its existence?
It makes you wonder.
Remember that luxury cruise ship we talked about at the start? It might be breaking speed records today, but if the ocean it sails on is slowly turning into digital code, eventually that ship is going to have to learn how to fly. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.